What's going on, guys? Big Lass back at you again. I just finished my review for that crazy Saturday night of wrestling. We had three shows going head to head to head. It was great stuff. Now we move on to Wednesday Dynamite from Charleston. I thought this was low key one of the best shows they've ever produced from top to bottom. Um, let's go from the top of the card to the bottom of the card, from the opening match to the main event. We started off with Christian Cage versus Dustin Rhodes for the TNT title. Two old war horses going at it. Dustin Rhodes hitting Canadian destroyers in the ring and outside the ring. This was good stuff. You also had Orange Cassidy and Trent versus Penta and Commander in tag team action. This was fun. This is Penta and Orange Cassidy. I mean, these guys, they have such great chemistry going all the way back to the beginning of AEW. And of course, post-match, they set up Roderick Strong going for the international title against Orange Cassidy at Revolution in Greensboro. Next up, we had, for the Ring of Honor Trios titles, the Gates of Agony, Brian Cage, Toa Ioa, and Khan versus the Bullet Club Gold, who got brand new entrance music. Hopefully that doesn't mean the end of Jay White's singles music. Hopefully this entrance music is just for the Bullet Club Gold as a group. But I liked it. I liked the new entrance music. And the match was awesome. I think that the Gates of Agony have gotten so much better since their early days on Dark 2 years ago. And I think that it's time for them to move up to the tag title division. And so did TK, because the Bullet Club Gold, they got the big win that they've been looking for since June when they formed. And they won the ROH Trios titles, which I think, and this is just a guess, but I think the storyline going forward will be unifying those Trios titles. The AEW Trios titles, which are held by the Acclaimed, and the Ring of Honor Trios titles. So that's going to be, that could be the storyline. And if it is, what a match that's going to be. The Acclaimed and Daddy Ass versus Jay White and the Guns. That could be awesome. And then, of course, the team that wins is elevated because now they are the unified Trios tag champions. That should be awesome. We also had Deonna Purrazzo back in the ring. And this time her opponent was Anna Jay. And just like her match with Red Velvet, Deonna elevated her opponent yet again. And this was Anna Jay looking as crisp and as fluid in the ring as she's ever looked. And it was because she had a top-notch opponent to work with. And so they continued the angle with Deonna and Toni Storm. I think that's more than likely your Revolution women's title match. They could pull the trigger earlier, but, you know, I don't know where you go from there if they do pull the trigger early on that one. So, yeah, I would go Deonna versus Toni at Revolution. So, this was good stuff. You had a more great character work from Toni and Mariah May. Next up, we had Top Flight versus the return of Private Party. Good to see Private Party back in the ring. They did look a little rusty, to be honest, but you can see that there's going to be some great matches between these two teams down the road. As soon as Top Flight, they get back into their groove from 2019 and 2020. Top Flight, they're awesome. Private Party is awesome. I say let those two teams, let them feud for the next few months. They can have some great matches. And hell, I think the Ring of Honor tag team division will be a good place for them. And then they can move into the AEW tag division and elevate that division, because it seems to me like they're starting to reformat the division, get new teams in there. And I think another team that they should bring in the Von Erichs. You add that team to Private Party, Top Flight, and who am I missing? Returning Lucha Brothers, returning Young Bucks. You've got some good teams there. You also have the Guns. You also have the Acclaimed waiting in the wings. Some good stuff could happen there. And so then we have the big main event, commercial free, Hook going for the AEW title against Samoa Joe. And for all the whining and crying we saw online, all the WWE fans that were saying that Hook versus Joe was not going to be as good as Jinder versus Seth Rollins. Well, the AEW fans in the arena would beg to differ, because they were hot, they were loud, they were into it. From the opening bell, this match had a big fight feel to it. I thought that it was booked perfectly. You had Samoa Joe like an animal, just tearing into Hook, the much smaller Hook. But then you had Hook persevering, taking the punishment, and fighting back. And you had they built and built to that part of the match where Hook was going to kick out and start his comeback. And it was so perfect. The crowd erupted. And it was like magic. For a second, even I thought, maybe they do do a title change, because the crowd was so electric for it. It was great. And so, of course, no spoiler, but I don't care. And of course, post-match, you had, even in defeat, Hook was defiant and caught another beating from Samoa Joe, which is great, because Samoa Joe, he's a maniac, he's a monster, and it's good that keeps up his character. And you had Hangman Adam Page looking like Magnum TA, straight out of the 1986, showing up, continuing his eventual, the road to his eventual match with Samoa Joe. And then you had Swerve Strickland in the crowd, scowling at both of them. He also on the road to his eventual title match with Samoa Joe. Now, a lot of people are saying, will it be a three-way match for the title at Revolution? Maybe. It could. And then you have to say, well, who takes the pin on that one? I think it's too early for Joe to lose. I don't think Page should win yet. But people will be very upset if Swerve loses or takes the pin. So, it's going to be very interesting which way they go with it. They could also make it a four-way, since they have 6 more weeks to go to build. There could be a fourth person added to this. So maybe Wardlow. You never know. So, all in all, I think that this was a very tight, very well put together show. And guess what? Let's look at those ratings, because I am coming from the future. Show's already happened, the ratings came out, and guess what? AEW Dynamite was ranked number 1 on all of cable for Wednesday, January 17th. How about that? AEW Dynamite beat the NBA on ESPN for one of the few times in their history. How about that? AEW Dynamite pulled in 891,000 viewers and a .33 in the coveted 18 to 49 demo. And if you don't understand ratings, that 3.3 is what all of the TV networks covet the most. The total viewers, while very important, not as important as that 18 to 49. The rating was also AEW's highest. The rating was also AEW Dynamite's highest overall number, viewership and demo together, since Grand Slam back in September, which was also main evented by Samoa Joe. Looks like Samoa Joe might equal ratings. It was also the highest rated Dynamite demo and viewership since Grand Slam in September, which was also main evented by Samoa Joe. Which brings me to the final piece of news that came out on Thursday. Late in the evening, Tony Khan dropped a cryptic tweet about 2024 being a great year for AEW. No context. 2 hours later, New Japan Pro Wrestling drops a press release announcing that Kazuchika Okada, New Japan Pro Wrestling legend at only 36 years old, has decided not to renew his contract with New Japan, effective January 31st. So, to me, that means one thing. Okada is all elite. And now it's just a matter of time. So, will he debut on Dynamite in the next few weeks, leading up to Revolution? Maybe. Or could they save him for Revolution, where there's going to be 20,000 people there to see the retirement of Sting? They could do that. But folks, I think this is going to be big, because I think that all the signs, all the tea leaves are saying to me that Okada is all elite. So, all right, guys. So on Friday, we have a more stacked than usual episode of Rampage. We've got Darby Allin versus Jeff Hardy. That's going to be crazy. And from what I've heard, it's a can't miss match. The only thing that I'm sad about is that they didn't do virtually any angles or interviews to set it up. It's just, they just announced the match, which is odd. But apparently it was very good. And there was a lot of buzz coming from the fans in the arena after the show. So then we have AEW Collision, which is also pretty stacked. We've got Daniel Garcia versus Buddy Matthews. We've got Eddie Kingston and Ortiz making his return against Bryan Danielson and Claudio. No women's match announced yet. I'm holding out hope that maybe they get a singles match for Thunder Rosa on the show. We'll see. And we also have the AEW return of Jon Moxley, who's been on New Japan excursion since Wrestle Kingdom. So it'll be interesting to see what he has to say and what his new what his next feud is going to be. Because right now we haven't seen John Moxley since the end of 2023 and the end of the Classic, the Continental Classic, where he lost to Eddie Kingston. So it'll be interesting to see what his next storyline is going to be. And one last thing that was just announced for Collision is Adam Copeland will be back on Collision, and he's going to have another open challenge. So that should be very fun. His last two have been pretty good. So, all right, guys. Well, maybe I'll make another video tomorrow if there's some more big breaking news in the world of wrestling, which usually lately there has been. So, all right, guys. What a crazy week it's been, and we will see if there's more breaking news Friday and Saturday. And maybe I'll make another video to talk about that. All right. Peace out.